You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast on the We Are Libertarians Network. I'm your host, Jeremiah Morrell, and as always, I'm joined by our co-host, Dakota Davis.
Hey, what's up, Jeremiah?
Oh man, we've been stalling, killing time here because somebody was late to the party. Chase.
That would be Chase.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was here before you were.
I do want to point out one thing really quick. The three co-hosts are wearing plaid again.
We are. I'm in my green check shirt. I've been losing all this weight, and this is in the back of the closet. And I put it on, and I went, oh my God, I've already missed my window with it because it's falling off of me.
Why didn't I get the memo?
Well, real fans of the show, Betsy Mills is with us, and she's running for county council. We've had fans show up that wear the plaid. They're like, they have these establishment Republicans that have been elected to office. They have big staffs, and they're like, by the way, you need to wear plaid to the show or wear some flannel because that's what the people do on the show.
It's okay.
I need to hire more staff. Yeah.
It's okay, Betsy. I don't watch the show either.
I listen to the show.
So our show is about our lives in rural Indiana. It's a show about folks who are involved in politics. We promise that our episodes are going to be a fun and an easy listen. As you can tell, we don't have much of a script. We've already run off of it 3 or 4 times before we even got through the introductions. We interview people who are influencers, elected officials, political experts, and folks that we just find interesting. Today, we are continuing our local candidate series, and you heard her voice a minute ago. It's Betsy Mills. We're glad to have you here, Betsy.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here.
An honor is a stretch, but we're glad you're here. So you are running for the county council in western Henry County, over Middletown, Shirley, Greensboro, I guess, Knightstown.
Sulphur Springs. Caddis, yeah.
Caddis. You live over in the Sulphur Springs area, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I
Jefferson
live due north of Sulphur, on 950 north, between 2 and 300 west.
We don't want to get you any stalkers. We don't give away specifics.
It's public.
Yeah.
We just put here that it's north of Q Avenue.
Exactly. Yeah, we're a mystery location. We don't want throngs of people outside protesting us over. We don't want all the doughboy people outside just telling us what they want.
They're pretty scary.
I'm gonna turn Chase up just a touch here.
Jeremiah's still trying to get used to the new mics. He's been protesting them this entire time. He hates them.
I don't like change, man.
Vehemently opposed to the new microphones.
Vehemently.
Vehemently.
What's the answer? You're a college professor, Betsy. What's the word?
Vehemently.
Yeah, vehemently.
Vehemently?
Yeah.
You're closer. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's got a lot of syllables. Don't worry about it.
Many syllables. All right. So we are a somewhat semi-professional podcast now, Dakota.
Are we?
We have a Patreon. People are
correct.
paying real money to pay for this thing.
That's right.
And we are ridiculously thankful for them.
Oh, my goodness. We're so thankful.
Patreon.com/Boss Hog of Liberty.
Yep. I got to record a second episode this week with my wife about conspiracy theories. It's called TinFoil Time. We break everything down. We do all the research so you don't have to. So now, everybody who subscribes to the... man, I just mumbled that. Subscribes to the Patreon account can sound smarter with Henry County and District 6 politics, as well as their knowledge on conspiracy theories. And it was a lot of fun. I think we did a pretty good job. We got some pretty good feedback on it.
So in this week, we've received pledges, I guess they are, Patreon supporters.
We have 11 pledges. We're over $200 a month now.
Unreal.
Nice.
So yeah, right out of the box.
Yep.
Like within 3 days, we announced this thing on Thursday night last week. And within 3 days, it was, hey, Dakota, you need to have a show ready this Tuesday because they have all contributed.
That's right.
So we got to thank Brantley Spicer, Christy Avery, Rebecca Baker, Paul and Joyce Morrell, Sarah Potter, the lovely Sarah Potter, Jamie Jo Owens, Craig DaCosta from Hawaii, Betsy.
Wow.
Yeah.
From Hawaii. And we are using we call it the Craig DaCosta camera because Craig has been an incredible supporter of the show. Corey Murphy, Aaron Ewert, Mary Hershey, and Nancy Dietz. So Nancy I've known for a long, long time through the Henry County Saddle Club. For the first 10, 15 years she knew me, she called me Jonathan, but in spite of that, we're very good friends. Nancy was one of the ones that helped me out with my horse announcing career. Did a lot of horse shows out at the Henry County Saddle Club. So,
and then it evolved into this glorious podcast that we have now.
And that gave me the courage to get behind the microphone to do this podcasting thing. So TinFoil Time is in your feeds. If you guys join, you get special access onto the Patreon page, and you can get the special secret link for your RSS if you like to listen just to the podcast. You can get TinFoil Time and any of the other bonus audio that's out there. There's we got you a little, to wet your whistle, there's a little podcast in there of Dakota and I behind the scenes making fun of each other and abusing each other, recording our video promo that you see on the YouTube page.
Yep, that was pretty. I went back through and re-listened to that after you posted it, and I was laughing.
Yeah, it was very funny. And there's more like that. We may toss another one or two in there.
I thought it was really good, and then I cut my finger and had to get 5 stitches. So
were you? Yeah. So this has been a week. You tried to take your finger off.
I did. Yeah. No.
I thought it wasn't your wedding ring finger. It's not like you tried to unmarry yourself. You missed it by a couple fingers.
Nope. The bone is what stopped it. To be a little fun fact there.
Graphic.
It looks really cool.
Does it?
If I saw you in a bar, I wouldn't mess with you.
Do I look more manly now?
Oh, yeah.
What you need to do, you like tattoos. You need to go down to the tattoo studio and have them stitch it in. Like, take the stitches and make them a permanent tattoo.
There we go. That way I can always look manly.
I think instead of your wedding ring, you should get a stitch ring.
A stitch ring?
Yeah, I think it'd look cool.
Would that kind of be like a barbed wire armband tattoo?
Yeah.
That sounds a little rednecky for me.
Hey, you're in Newcastle.
Barbed Wire and Roses. You remember that song, Chase? The old country music song?
Oh, yeah.
Barbed Wire and Roses.
Billy Ray?
No, it's Billy Ray. He just lies to me. Betsy, do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not really a country music aficionado.
Yeah, me either, Betsy.
Yeah.
Barbed Wire and Roses was by Pin Monkey.
I was close.
Yeah, very close. Not close. It was Barbed Wire and Roses a couple years later. Somebody in the Facebook live chat's going to go, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But maybe not. It was a little bit of a deep cut, just like Dakota's finger. All right, so Betsy, you're from Middletown, and you live in Jefferson Township now.
That's right.
Over by my boy Josh Norris. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
We were killing time because somebody
Great guy,
was running
great
late.
neighbor. Love him and his family.
Mr. Volunteer Fireman.
Yeah, he's great.
And farmer. I get so much out of Snap. Are you on Snapchat?
I have one. I have not posted on it in months.
Yeah. Oh, it's the stories. If you follow Cade Koger or one of our co-hosts or Josh Norris or some of those farmer folks, you learn so much. They're hauling grain and they're just pissy about life, or it's raining, or whatever. It's a fun time. So yeah, that's how we got to hook up with him.
I should recommit.
Yeah. Jump back on it. I'm sure there's plenty of votes there. Get a deep connection.
The
with
millennials
people.
of Henry County are dying to hear from me on Snapchat, I'm sure.
Well, the We Are Libertarians Network and Dakota Davis and Chris Spangle have turned this into the millennials versus the baby boomers over the last couple months over here.
I did that?
Yeah,
no.
I'm putting the blame on you.
No, I have untagged myself out of every single one of those Facebook posts that I get tagged in from Chris. He's trying to wage an all-out war against the baby boomers, and I'm like, listen, man, that's like 60% of our listenership. Like, we can't do that.
Facebook gives us analytics, and we are incredibly popular with the 60-year-old woman of Henry County.
Nice.
I had no idea we were that adorable.
Thanks, Grandma.
It's all Chase's grandparents.
Facebook analytics are incredible.
It's crazy, yeah. Or maybe it's all the 17-year-old girls that lie to Facebook and like, oh yes, I was born in 1947 in Lebanon, Indiana.
That's what it was.
Nobody.
All the people who were still too young to sign up for Facebook, so they had to fudge their numbers.
Yeah, they're getting old now. Now they're all like 27.
I think that whenever I was like 13 or 14 and I signed up for Facebook, I told them I was like 33. So I'm probably a baby boomer by Facebook standards now. At least Gen X.
Betsy, you're closer to my age. You're graduated in class of 04. I'm class of 01. And now Facebook, Dakota's 22. We go back and we make fun of Dakota's old pictures, and it feels like child abuse because he was like middle school or 6th grade. We still do it, but it feels wrong.
Yeah, you still make fun of me, but it was, I wasn't joking when I said 13 to 14.
Yeah, he's a little pudgy Dakota before the athlete was born, and then he threw away all the sports.
The athlete, yes. My superior athletic body type that I have here.
You got on a football field. I never did. Being homeschooled, there were limited options.
You just wrangled chickens.
That's a tough job.
Hey, it's well, Henry County needs a good turkey catcher right now, by the way.
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
apparently we have really good duck catchers in Memorial Park. Somebody's been stealing all the ducks.
There
And
needs
I
to be
think
an
it is the
investigation.
same people that's behind the disappearance of the doughboy. I'm going to put that out there now.
I wasn't going to go here, but I read on Facebook, Citizens of Henry County, that Kim Kronk is having a duck breast dinner for his reelection in 2020. And I don't want to say that he had anything to do with it, but I'm just saying the ducks are missing from the county park. It's in his middle district, and he's having a duck breast fundraiser.
See, Jared, I was at your house last week, and I saw a lot of ducks in your backyard.
They're free-range ducks. Ducks can come and go as they want to.
Yep.
I don't know.
They're a triple threat. They can fly.
You better be
they can
careful.
walk, they can swim.
You better be careful with those ducks back there, Jared. Darren Jacobs might be on your case here soon. Illegal ducks.
They can come and go anytime they want. They're illegal ducks, and they need to be deported. We need a taller wall.
It's a voluntary duck society that you have going on back there.
That's right.
Yeah, I want to identify as pro duck.
You're pro duck?
Yeah, pro duck.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down. Make a note of it. What about goose? Do you have an official goose position?
Anti-aggressive geese, pro chill geese.
Who decides how aggressive a goose is?
Every goose.
Clearly, we need more government to tell us.
Well,
Build the wall.
we're going to get to the real issues in a minute, but I guess we're going to have to decide how much of the county's money you're going to put up on goose defense. All right. So in the notes that the incredible Dakota Davis prepared for us, he has your full high school. I don't know if he called Shenandoah and got your transcripts or how this came down, but it says you graduated fourth in your class and you were a drum major in high school.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to know before we make a decision about the election?
Oh gosh. I've always been really active in school and academically. I was really active in band. I played drums, which is different than being a drum major, which I was my senior year. I ran track. Well, I say I ran track. I threw track. I threw shot and disc and track. I was captain of the chess team. I did model legislature. I was really active in my church, and I was really active in FFA for my junior and senior years.
See, Betsy and I have so much in common, is what I've discovered through this course of things. Because I was really involved in my high school band. I tried to do shot put, but I was still way too scrawny then, and
I'm going to stop everything. Chase,
barely go.
They're making me feel uncomfortable because they went to a real high school. Are you feeling uncomfortable because you didn't go to a real high school?
I was going to say, me and Jared, we finished first in our class.
Exactly.
So,
You guys should be really proud of that.
I am. Class of 3.
Class of 1.
Chase's
Shout out to Sean Wade, by the way, who's watching online. Over
I cheated some of the
Dayton.
time.
You cheated. Chase had the same teacher from kindergarten to 12th grade.
That is a lie. I had at least 3 or 4 teachers, but I was related to a couple.
Yeah, I went to Chase's graduation. There were 3 people in this class, and the caps and gowns were red, white, and blue colors.
Very
so
patriotic.
They did a really good job of coordinating that. Do they only accept 3 people into the high school for that
at
reason?
a time. I knew the graduation wasn't going to be long, so I gave like an 18-minute speech.
Okay. Were you in like some sort of a small garage? Were there like 14 people in the audience?
He was in a church.
I was in the church. You know. It looked decent. It didn't look awful. I mean, where were you at?
I didn't have one. We had an open house and called it good.
Oh, see.
It was just a picnic. My brother, when he graduated, he and I think 3 other kids that graduated from homeschool at the same time, they rented the Hoosier Gym and we filled the thing for his. We had an actual like ceremony, and I printed his diploma like I was somebody. So
That's awesome.
my brother's high school diploma I made on the computer.
I actually mentioned Dakota in my graduation speech.
Did you?
Yeah, my girlfriend at the time was pissed because I didn't mention her at all.
One of them is still in your life.
More important.
That's true.
Look at where it got you.
So Betsy,
High five for that. Yeah.
how's this about you at this point? We've gone off the rails, and I'm very sorry.
Hey, what can I tell you? What do you want to know?
I don't know.
Well, Betsy plays Skyrim. I did learn that.
Yes.
She noticed the map up there. Yeah. Betsy's pretty awesome in my book at this point. We'll have to, this early into the show. Pretty awesome. You got involved in your local GOP politics whenever you were in your high school career.
Yeah, in my senior year, I volunteered for some local candidates, and that was the year of my man Mitch, and I did some volunteering for that. And
2004, yeah,
that's right.
It was the first. He was the first Republican elected governor in like 16 years around here.
Right. Yeah, we had O'Bannon and
Bai and
right.
Kernan. Yeah,
right.
A long list of tax-raising Democrats.
Yeah, so and that was fun, and I also participated in the speech contest that the Henry County GOP has every year, which is, I think, a phenomenal thing. And it's funny because now I teach communications and I teach public speaking, and I look back at that, and that was one of my first opportunities to.
You would owe it all to a young Nate Lamar.
Maybe a little bit, tiny bit of credit. There's been a lot of people along the way that have sort of pushed me in this direction. So,
yeah, as you're playing this political game, it's good to suck up the incumbents, the power Republicans.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then you ended up still working in Middletown, and you worked third shift, so the night shift, which I commend that because I've had to work night shifts before.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. Third shift is really tough, but then I worked second shift for a few weeks, actually about 2 months, and I found out that I'm a very natural second shifter.
Yeah.
I had so much energy then. But you worked as the 911 dispatch person for the Middletown Emergency Services.
I did, yeah. I got this job after I graduated from high school and before I went to Ball State. And chirp, baby. Could not love Ball State more. Yeah, the dispatch supervisor, LaVonna Robbins, she goes to the Middletown Library a lot, and my mom works there. And I think one day she might have said, "Hey, does your daughter want a job?" And I remember being at my friend's house and my mom saying, "Hey, you should be a dispatcher at the police station." And my response was, "What on earth are you talking about?" And then I talked to LaVonna and thought, "Oh, this could be a really good job, and I could do it from Ball State. I could commute back for it." And so for, I think, 4 or 5 years, I worked Thursday third and Friday thirds. And that was rough. And I had my first semester. I had Friday morning classes, and I would leave Middletown, go to campus. I had like 3 different classes. It was brutal. I never had another Friday class again. Being an honors student, you got like privileged scheduling, and that was very lucky for me because I could not pull it off after that first semester.
So if somebody called, did you have any like I-69 responsibilities right there, or what kind of thing would you have as Middletown's 911? First of all, nobody could get a cell phone signal in Middletown. I heard that.
That's absolutely true. It really ran the gamut. We had there were serious things that happened. We occasionally would have to call lifelines for really bad car accidents. We had a couple murders while I was working there. We had, we had really serious things, but we also had a lot of fun things. And, Farmer Bob's cows are out again. Give him a call. Things like that. The turkey's out again. Things that are like very small town and very charming.
Yeah.
I had a couple of calls that are still. I once had a girl call me, and she was babysitting. She's probably 14 or 15 years old, and this was a Friday night, and this was second, so this was maybe 9 or 10 at night. And she said, "There's a monster with yellow eyes looking into this house that I'm babysitting at, and I'm really nervous." And she didn't know where she was because she was babysitting at this house. I was like, "All right, go find a piece of mail. Tell me what it says." Sent a couple of our officers over who were amused, but also wanted to, make sure she felt safe. And so they went through the house, they double checked, and they, calmed her and said, "Hey, everything's okay." And then they left. And right as they were leaving, they saw this gigantic owl with bright yellow eyes like fly at them, and they were like, "Holy cow, that huge owl!" So funny things like that. It was lucky that it was a small town. It wasn't like it was Indianapolis or something.
It wasn't a monster, but owls are still pretty terrifying. I once saw an owl kill an outdoor cat whenever we lived in Dunreath, and it was like, I'm done with owls now.
they can turn their heads like completely around.
Yeah, it's weird. Owls are really weird.
I thought you were going to end the story with, "and they were never seen again." That's what I was pulling for.
Yeah, no.
You were pulling for that? That's
well,
horrible.
I mean,
I'll write that down. Chase's.
It would have been a cool story.
Chase's
How are you gonna,
it was still a really cool story.
How are you going to get on the park board if you keep saying stuff like that?
Well, hey, I have a plan, but I'll mention that later.
Okay.
Well,
so you went to...
Judging by the tenure of park board members, just get in line. We're being churned through very quickly.
Dropping like flies. So you went to, you attended Ball State University.
I did.
Where you mentioned that earlier, and we all chirped for you.
That's right.
My sister goes there now. You got a bachelor's in women's studies. So why did you choose the women's studies degree?
Don't you know enough about women being one?
You would think so. I had started as a political science major, and I loved studying politics, and I noticed a lot of the courses were cross-listed with women's studies, and I met some of the faculty. I thought they were really cool, and I took some cross-listed classes and just really enjoyed them. And they were, women's studies has like such a reputation of, it's so liberal and you're going to be indoctrinated and they hate men and blah, 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 blah. And maybe that is true. That has not been my experience at all, and definitely not at Ball State. And I was definitely like the person who came in and was like, capitalism is cool. Let's talk about it. And we would have some pretty raging debates, but, the faculty in that department were phenomenal and really supportive of me when I was active on campus. And, it was a really good experience. So, and you learned, it was all about all sorts of subjects like women in politics, women in leadership, women in literature, women's history, things that maybe we don't do a good enough job of focusing in general in education. So it was sort of a deeper dive in those areas.
Yeah, I remember one time in my homeroom class whenever I was in high school, my teacher is Mr. Craig, the only teacher that ever gave me a detention, actually. Fun fact.
Did you earn it?
Actually, I got a detention. This is hilarious. And we're going off topic, but I got a detention because I was talking to him.
What?
Yeah.
He's just tired of looking at you and sent you to another room.
It was like at that moment, young Dakota Davis realized he was kind of annoying.
I hung out with one of your high school teachers last night again.
Dan Webb.
Yeah,
Yep.
We were in Richmond together.
He was, I was with him whenever I got some stitches on my face one time. So,
wow.
Yeah.
You get stitches.
A lot of stitches. Yeah. But anyway.
Why Dakota has to have that beard.
Mr. Craig, one time, we were all discussing college and homeroom, and one young lady in my homeroom class said that she was going to go for a women's studies degree. And some people started making fun of her for choosing that major, like whatever job could you get with that. And Mr. Craig actually brought up a study that he had seen from the University of Melbourne. Talked about the correlation between women's studies majors and women politicians. I thought that was really interesting. Like seeing that you had majored in that kind of jogged my memory whenever I saw that, and I was like, huh, that was right. He was right. Mr. Craig was right. So, do you think that had some influence whenever you decided to run for office, or is it just kind of been like you always wanted to run for some kind of public office?
Yeah, I've been interested in politics my entire life. I think that started really young for me, and I remember reading like my mom's Newsweeks when I was in like 4th or 5th grade and watching the McLaughlin Group on TV. I mean, so nerdy, but like,
were you a John McLaughlin fan or a Pat Buchanan fan? Who was your guy?
Oh, definitely John. Yeah. So cantankerous and funny.
My mind went to Sarah McLaughlin.
Yeah, I know.
In the arms of the angel.
Those commercials are brutal. I like to show those in class to my students when we talk about like persuasion and emotional persuasion, and they always look away, and it's always so funny.
That's a good one. I show them to my dog Daisy so that she knows how good she has it.
I should do that with my dog. Yeah.
What say you, Betsy Mills? Yeah. All right. So that's cool. And then you have demonstrated some sort of leadership in your past because you got elected student body president at Ball State.
Yeah. In student government there, you run as a slate. So it's president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. And when I went to campus for a visit my senior year of high school, I went on the day that the SGA election was decided, and it was like campus was electric, and it was so interesting. And I thought, I have got to get involved in this when I come here. And so I did. I joined student government right away, and I was a member for all 4 years of undergrad. I just worked my way up and set that goal for myself really early. I think everybody who ever knew me knew that I was going to be running for my senior year, and I put together a good team, built a platform, and went for it.
So do you have to run your senior year?
No, you can run whatever you want.
Okay.
You the elections are in February and March, and then you serve from March to March. So
all right.
Yeah, I was elected technically during the end of my junior year, but I served for my senior year.
Not only were you student body president, but you also were a part of the, is it Chi or Chi?
Chi.
Totally wrong.
No, you're okay, though. You would never know that if you weren't.
But not Kia.
No, not
Chi.
Chi Omega.
Omega.
Yeah.
I knew how to pronounce Omega.
The last word is sorority.
Yeah.
Sorority?
So actually, technically, they call themselves a fraternity, even though it's all women. I don't know why. I've never quite understood that.
There's something weird about Ball State or Delaware County or something up there where they weren't technically allowed to have sororities.
Yeah, that's like a. You should talk about that in your podcast of like tinfoil, not realness, because it's. I know I've heard that a million times.
We've been blaming Kat and Agnos for all of that. She's been on the show a couple times, and it's up at the university now. So.
No, but and they've talked about putting in sorority housing. And there was one. My understanding a couple years ago, there was one sorority that said they didn't want to, and then that put their project on hold. But there's no local ordinance preventing it, and I would be really in favor. It's actually Chi Omega's, if I can give a shout out, 123rd birthday today.
Right.
And I saw him.
We should have put the sign back out, Dakota.
It is your birthday.
It is your birthday.
Chi Omega. Yeah, it was a really great experience. I am definitely not the typical sorority woman, and I thought that looks fun. I'm going to go for it. And my chapter was amazing. Had just really incredible sisters, and one of my friends was like, after she didn't know me at Ball State, she was like, "Is that like a real sorority or is that like a service sorority?" And I was like, "A, that question is offensive, but B, it's definitely a real one. Like, they're, they look like a real sorority," and I sort of stuck out like a sore thumb, but I loved them and they were really good sisters to me. So I'm always grateful.
I heard they threw the best parties.
That is absolutely right.
So we have party girl, Betsy Mills with us today on the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. You got Chase Peyton, Dakota Davis, and myself chatting about Betsy's background, getting to know her a little bit. She is running for the Henry County Council in the Republican primary. Are there 3 of you, 4 of you? How many are running this race?
There are 4. There's 3 people who are really obvious, and then there's a 4th person that no one has ever heard from.
Have you knocked on his door and asked for his vote?
I might.
I mean, man, if you're not going to do anything,
yeah, I could use his support. Yeah,
that's one extra one for me.
Oh gosh, that's hilarious. That I'm going to laugh about that one later.
So, did you get your Dakota in our notes says that you have a communications master's degree, which has allowed you to go on to your teaching project or your teaching program. Is that from Ball State as well, or did you go somewhere else for that?
Yeah, that's from Ball State.
You didn't outsource it; you stayed in state for that one too.
Yeah,
you guys have a hell of a communications program.
It's a very good communications program in the David Letterman building.
Yeah,
it's a great department and a great college. It's definitely one of Ball State's assets.
As you walk through the building, is there any sign that says like "Boom goes the dynamite" on the wall anywhere?
No, but I definitely had TCOM with that guy.
Yeah, did you really?
I did. Yeah, and I remember him.
Do you have any idea what we're talking about?
Yeah.
No idea.
Oh
no.
my gosh.
Oh man.
Okay,
it's
continue on, and I'm going to be Googling.
Okay, yeah, you've got to see Boom Goes the Dynamite.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want to say like I knew him, but I definitely had a class.
You
with
were
him.
definitely best friends for the story.
But I love that meme. I think it's hysterical.
Basically, there was a
Boom
kid,
goes the dynamite.
a sportscaster, that he was at Ball State, and they have students that do sports broadcast.
Yeah, a lot of student-run media.
And
it's
I
really impressive.
think basically the teleprompter died on him during the program.
My recollection, and I could be wrong, was that he was like third string, and he wasn't supposed to be the guy, but somehow he had to be the guy that goes on air, and it was like his first time, and he just didn't quite pull it together, and the teleprompter was going too fast, and I think he was a little bit overwhelmed.
Family Guy remade it, so there's something.
We're going to try. There's no telling what's going to happen. The guy's name is Brian Collins, and I'm going to literally on the fly try a 12-second clip that we have not practiced or played. There's a whole 3-minute version of it here.
It
We're
could
be
try anything.
Yeah.
Later, he gets the rebound, passes it to the man, shoots it, and boom goes the dynamite. Okay, great. Thanks a lot for that.
That's the big moment of it. But the
lead up, he's like struggling the whole time.
Is an ad. What I will do, I will pull the audio of that and we'll stick that in the Patreon feed, or maybe we'll just put a link out there for people to find the full 3-minute version. But he basically struggles for 3 or 4 minutes covering the Pacers game, and
it was Reggie Miller's last season.
Yeah,
it was dramatic. Yeah,
it was an absolute train wreck. There's another part where he goes, "Oh no," which I wish was a GIF or a meme, because I say it all the time to myself when something's going terribly wrong, and you just whisper to yourself, "Oh no." That's the actual gold of it. But everybody knows it for Boom Goes the Dynamite. So enjoy that one. Okay. So communications degree at Ball State.
Right.
Was that good communications? Boom goes the dynamite.
Hey, it's everybody knows it now, so I would say that in some level he did succeed in his communication. It's funny, it's wholesome. I think everybody has moments like that are relatable. I love it. I love that people associate that with Ball State. I think it's really funny. The program's great. I had amazing faculty. I really, in my program, studied political rhetoric. My master's thesis was about this was in 2008 to 10, and I studied John McCain's concession address when he lost the presidency to Barack Obama. That was a big night in America. And
it wasn't when John McCain, the mayor of Rushville, lost a race. It was Senator John McCain, and I fell in love with that speech. I thought it was so beautiful and so recognizing of the historical moment that was being experienced, and he was very gracious, and
I'm a big John McCain fan anyway, but I just thought it was
Yeah.
a phenomenal speech. And so I broke it down and analyzed it using theories and different angles. And spent 2 years working on it. So
Really?
yeah. Well,
That's
thesis
awesome.
is it's long as like 100-page papers. So
Yeah, seriously though, John McCain as a candidate, great.
yeah.
He was awesome. So much better than, well, never mind. We're not going to get into my personal beliefs here because this show is all about Betsy Mills and her run for Henry County Council, District Number 3. And we are now talking about your current position at
Sure.
Penn State University.
Yeah.
So why Penn State? Why did you choose to go there?
My partner applied for the English PhD program there and got in, and I was again at a impasse. Like, okay, what do I do? What's my next step? And this was right after the Great Recession. I saw a lot of my peers really struggle trying to get jobs, and I applied to teach. And I thought, well, just see what they say, and they hired me, which was amazing because I was 24 years old, and everybody else who got hired at the same time had PhDs. I just had my master's. And it was like an amazing opportunity to be 24 years old and teaching at a Big Ten university. So I took it. And the minute I left, I thought, oh my gosh, I miss Indiana a little bit. Like I didn't realize, because I'd always been here. I'd always been in this area. And then leaving, it was like, wow, I am such a Hoosier.
Yeah,
My exposure to Pennsylvania is eerie. Like I'm from northern New York originally, so we'd clip
like it was
Pennsylvania,
kind of
drive it
scary.
through.
in
That
Pennsylvania.
is the worst drive.
No, Erie, Pennsylvania.
I know, I was
Come
joking.
on, man. Get with it.
Yeah, I mean, Pennsylvania is fine. My grandfather was from there originally and from a really poor coal mining town and got a scholarship out playing football and moved to Ohio. And that's where my mom's from, in Findlay, Ohio. So I had affinity for that region, and I knew my grandpa was a big Penn State football fan. And so it just seemed right. Like, it seemed like, okay, this is a cool opportunity. And it's been a great job. I love teaching students. I love teaching them to think critically and to really analyze and think for themselves. And I teach a lot of different subjects, but it's really a lot of fun. I don't think it could be more important. It's absolutely vital that we learn how to communicate clearly and competently. It's also important that we learn how to understand the communication of others. Yeah, I could go on and on, but it's really fun.
So you taught on campus at Happy Valley for a handful of years.
Yeah, for 7 years.
And then you've had the opportunity to come back home to Henry County.
That's right. Yeah, we have a really strong online program. And so I had always taught on campus, but I also would teach a few classes online. And I've sort of become one of their main online people. And their program just continues to grow. It's called Penn State's World Campus. So I've been talking to my department for a few years about, what if I transition fully online? And is that possible? And, I think I'm pretty good at it. And my students seem to enjoy my classes. And they've been really encouraging, and that's been really great. So I can be back here. I travel back there every once in a while for meetings and checking in and things like that. But everything I do is online. I usually work outside the house, though. I usually go into Middletown or come down here to Newcastle or go up to Muncie and sit at a coffee shop or restaurant for a few hours and work.
Not easy to have. Do you have 9-star available to you yet in Jefferson Township?
My neighbor, Josh Norris, has it, and that last half mile does not make it to me. And I keep calling them and saying, hey, guys, would you give me an idea of what that costs so I can send you a check? Because I would really like to have streaming internet, but instead we spend a fortune on Verizon data every month. It's terrible.
It's pretty expensive for cable line
Yeah.
per mile. Something like $700 a mile. So
yeah, I'd pay
you'd
that.
be looking at,
I would write that and not look back.
I know. I know that here I have MetroNet and I have gig speed internet here, which is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing. MetroNet is not sponsoring us, but gosh, it's such good internet. And I went down to Florida, and my grandmother, she doesn't stream Netflix. She she uses her internet
Sends
to
emails and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much that. And
Sure.
I felt like I was in I felt like that I should be forging all of my my utensils to eat, wearing like a straw cap and things, and I felt like I was in the Dark Ages, and I needed to watch out for the Black Plague.
Yeah.
It was so slow. I checked it one time; it was like 1.5 megabyte upload speed, and I was like,
Yeah, at least with the Verizon, like the jetpack we have, and when I, tether to my phone, it's 4G. It's very fast. We've always had good Verizon signal where I live. It's just very expensive.
Yeah,
and I
just go
can't
through your
stream.
data.
Yeah, I just can't watch videos and things like that. So I really have to be careful.
What
when
you
I
need to do is get with Josh and put up a couple parabolic antennas and set yourself up a Wi-Fi network. So you stream back and forth. You got some options.
There you go.
There's some tech options there to solve. If you got high speed internet that close, you've got
We'll go out there. We're going to put a giant antenna in the backyard and also a windmill.
A tiny windmill would be great. One that proper to our, that.
599.5 feet.
Yeah, I don't know
Industrial
about that.
windmill.
I don't know about that one.
You're going to be on the cutting edge.
I have a question. Who's your favorite student?
Oh gosh, I don't even know what their faces look like now because it's all online.
I was going to ask that originally. I was going to ask you, is it easier to make? I'm sure it is easier to make favorite students when you're teaching in person.
Yes.
But you still get to know them as well when you're teaching online.
Absolutely, and I guess I have seen their faces because they record themselves giving speeches. I guess I could say there's one student who right now who asks a lot of really good questions and is just really sincere. I don't mind answering questions. I want them to ask questions, and she just gives maximum effort on everything. And if she doesn't think she's given maximum effort, she apologizes, which is not necessary. But just I appreciate sincerity and I appreciate effort and people trying to do what they're supposed to do. And so. I'm not going to say her name because just in case, but I think very highly of her.
Better question. Who's your least favorite student?
My least favorite student.
His name starts with a ch. Is with an ace.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know that I have a specific least favorite student. I get frustrated when people don't follow directions and then get mad when they don't get A's.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, I am not here to give you an A. I'm here to give you an education. And it's your job to do the assignment, to follow instructions. And that's what education's all about. Do the job. Do what you're being asked to do it well, and we'll see how it ends up. And occasionally I have people push back and say, oh, this grade is unfair. You don't like me. And it's like, I literally, it has nothing, it's not personal at all. You just didn't do what you were supposed to do. Just follow directions.
Well,
so
that's a good teacher right there.
Gotcha.
So let's get into some of your platform.
Sure.
Some of the issues that you're really focusing on here. I know we didn't put the wind farm down in the list because I feel like we've been really beating that dead horse a lot here on the show. But,
so we're going to roll it over and flog it again.
No, but if anybody wants to find out about your issues, you have an awesome, top-notch website.
Thank you. Shout out to Kyle Ellis who built it. Very good friend.
It's great. So it's Betsy. It's BETSY for HenryCounty.com. And you got your wind farm stance, real quick, abatements. That's the only thing that council can do.
No abatements.
Okay. So there you have it.
We should not be in the business of choosing winners and losers.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And then you talk about schools on your website, rural internet, some other things that we're not going to talk about here on the show, but we're going to talk about some other really important stuffs. Starting with the county roads.
Wait, let's give her a chance to pitch something. Is there a little donate button on that website, Betsy?
There's not. We had it up and it wasn't quite working. But I would love your money if you want to.
How do people support you?
You can find me on Facebook. I have a very active Facebook page where I like to post pictures of sunsets and also our Henry County beautiful sunsets, which I will argue. I've been all around the world. Our sunsets are top notch. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff on my Facebook besides sunsets. It's actually fairly substantive, and I try to keep up with people who are following the campaign. You can contact me there. My Facebook is open. My webpage is open. You can click through, and there's a form you can enter. I have an account set up at a bank for donations. I think I'm running against pretty well-funded competition, so I would definitely appreciate it if people agree with my policies and my vision. I would love financial support.
A couple of weeks, we're all going to know where everybody's at, right? We have to fill out our CFA-4s, our oppressive state government, and the requirements they have on candidates and finances. So we got to do our pre-primary for reports. I started raising money,
going straight for the throat, calling them oppressive.
Oh, they are. It's ridiculous. I have to have a notary and to get on the ballot, and you have to have.
It's kind of intense at a local level. Like if you're running for Congress, I get it, but like. For our level,
you got to have your financial disclosure forms. Yeah. It's not easy.
No. Wait, Jerry, are you running for something?
Yeah, I'm running for Henry County Council, just like Betsy.
I had no idea.
District 1. Yeah. So I'll be on the ballot.
I'd waste my vote on you.
Well, thank you, Chase. Unfortunately, I think you live in District 2, but if you want to shack up with Dakota for a while and change your address,
you would have to be
sublease's basement.
You'd have to be voting for someone like Chad Malicote if he lived in my house.
Yeah,
you'd have to go across the street to Zachary Burton's.
This is literally the district line.
Really?
This house here is the second district.
Between 1 and 2?
Yeah, and District 1 is across that nameless street over there. Anyway.
So speaking about streets, really quick, county roads. What would you propose that you could do for the road funding on the county council level?
This is really tough. Obviously, if it were an easy solution, it would already be done. I've traveled all over the country for work and for fun, and I've literally been to 45 of the 50 states in the last 5 years. Our roads are the worst. They're the worst. And I don't put that on current elected officials. I don't put that on the current council. I put it on people 30, 40 years ago who did not make proper investments, because our roads have been bad my entire life. My family's been on 950 North my entire life. The roads have always been atrocious. So how do we address this? I guess you look at the budget and see if there's anything there, if there's anything that can be allocated in that direction. I think you also put pressure on the state and our rainy day funds, and just in general, it's part of this is the state not paying for their roads, because it's a statewide issue. It's not just a Henry County issue. I also think that, as I look down the road in President Trump's infrastructure bill, if we ever see it, I would really, really hope that there would be a lot in there for infrastructure, especially our roads. So things like that, applying for grants. We just had the Next Level Roads grant that's going to bring in $600,000 to not replace roads, but replace signs in the county, which
it's money that you're not having to use elsewhere.
Exactly.
So you actually have money for asphalt in other places.
Exactly.
The problem with road funding, and as you probably know, is that you have certain accounts you can pull from. It's not like as a county councilor, you get to say, well, we're going to use this general fund money and move it around. The state has really defined your job and the lanes you're allowed to be in. We'll use some road language. And we talked about this quite a bit in depth with Butch last week, where they have their scoring system, but you only have certain amounts of money you can use each year, and it just doesn't cover the amount of mileage we have.
Right.
We got 50,000 people and 800 miles of county roads.
It's tough, and everybody in office right now, like I don't point the finger at them and say, like, you guys are terrible. Like this is the number one issue in the county. I mean, yes, I know Doughboy and Wind is very loud right now and contentious, but our roads have been an enduring issue for decades.
Yep.
So, it's not going to be an easy solution. I sort of daydream, and this may be really silly, but because Mr. Baker did a really good job last week of sort of breaking down. There's 4 different ways that we fund our roads, but 3 of those revenue streams are only allocated towards resources, and 1 is dedicated to labor. And so my thought is, if labor is the issue, if we have the resources but we don't have the labor, could we hypothetically have like a volunteer road crew? And I mean, again, volunteer where people could say, come and get materials and repair their own roads. I would do that without hesitation. Yep. I would go all up and down 950 North, filling in those potholes. Maybe Josh Norris would too. I know he gets frustrated. I think people would be into that. Then maybe that's silly. Maybe I'm way off track, but I'm all about thinking outside the box. What do we have to do to make this better?
So that was actually going to be my second question. How do we fix the roads without raising taxes?
Right.
Because you're running on such a fiscal conservative platform. Right. And I mean, you pretty much answered it just then. That was a really good answer. As a libertarian, I really like that answer.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to increase the tax burden on our citizens. We just don't. So we need to, really tighten purse strings. We need to be prudent financially, and sometimes that requires thinking outside the box.
We're in a real hole when it comes to our roads in our county.
Literally and figuratively. Yeah.
and this is the time of the year as we go through these freeze-thaw cycles, and we can't decide if we're in winter or spring. The roads just continue to crumble. There was a tax increase that came through the General Assembly last year, and Representative Saunders talked about that when he was on the show. It takes a little bit of time for that to get through the pipeline and get into the counties to where they can actually spend those funds. So the counties do have more money now than they did, but we're not just doing maintenance. We're having to deal with true repaves and grading and long-term answers. And you didn't get here overnight. It's not an overnight solution, unfortunately.
It's frustrating, but eventually we're going to have to decide, are we going to invest in this or not? And it's something that if we do now, we're not going to see full effect for years and years. But people are extremely frustrated. I mean, this is America. We're not third world. Let's fix the dang roads. Yep. It's as simple as that.
All right.
We're just going to make it like sidewalks where you're responsible for the road in front of your ground. And if not, we're going to send Darren Jacobs out there and we're going to ticket you.
Honestly,
that's what's going to happen.
If that's what it has to be, I will have the best part of the road in Henry County.
Then you have the guy in front of you wants the guy next to you wants asphalt. You want concrete.
And then somebody else wants grass.
Yeah. And then you have a gravel road, and so you got like 3 different sections. I don't know if that would work. I don't know if that would work.
You need central plan freedom.
Yep.
Speaking of roads, did you guys see the video Yeah, I think it was a day or two ago when it was raining real bad, the sinkhole in Liberty, Indiana.
Yeah, down in
that
Union
was
County.
crazy.
That was insane. Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I shared that off my personal Facebook page,
did.
and my guy over at County Materials, I think that was a rusted out pipe culvert.
Oh,
Of course, he sells concrete pipe culverts, but he thinks that the problem that happened there was
That makes sense.
the culvert, the galvanized culvert rusted, failed, and then there was nothing to hold back the dirt, and then it all just washed out.
And we do have some people that think that Boss Hog of Liberty is in Liberty, but that is not our hometown. So it did not affect us directly.
It's halfway between here and Dakota's summer home.
Yes.
I went to Liberty University for one semester. Had a lot of fun.
In Virginia.
Way more fun than Jerry Falwell would ever allow you to have.
Yeah. I would have been the student you would have wanted to punch
Oh yeah.
when I showed up.
It's okay. I still want to punch you.
Oh, thank you.
Like,
I wasn't mean. I wasn't bad in class or anything, but I didn't show up half the time my first semester, and I slept a couple times.
so you were like a bad
couple
boy at
times.
Liberty.
I wasn't a bad boy, okay? I was a loser.
For Liberty
But-
standards.
For Liberty standards, yeah. I mean, I was a bad student.
Yeah, I understand. I'm like the most rejected homeschooler ever who drinks on the air and has a libertarian podcast. I understand.
So the next platform piece, and is also a question that just came through on the live stream, is on the county council. You do have some strings that you can pull, things that you can do. How would you bring in more people, more jobs, more growth to Henry County as a whole? What are your ideas on that?
We're unicorns. We're bachelor degree people that are over 30 that have moved back to Henry County or come back to Henry
Right.
County. That doesn't happen.
I know.
So how do we get more Betsies here?
That's a really good question. I
And
think
is it the county council's job?
This is a complicated question, and I look at it from a couple of different angles. People our age want to be in thriving places where they can start businesses, where they can raise families, where they can settle down. They want things to do. They want it to be safe. They want it to be fun. They want different amenities. I am really excited about like one project in particular, the Trailhead project that's going to be from Sulphur to Middletown. I know it's not a complete trailhead at this point, but it's going to be eventually. I think projects like that are outstanding. We need things for people to do. And, I think a lot of people think, for me to do anything entertaining, I have to go to Fishers or Indianapolis or maybe,
We do have a pretty impressive trail system. I know Jeff Ray and some others have worked really hard on, where you can take a trail from our YMCA all the way out north, almost to Hillsborough now, and that's eventually going to connect up to Bluntsville in the northeastern part of the county, and get on the Cardinal Greenway. And I wasn't aware of the one, so you've got one in your district that
Right.
would go from Sulphur to Middletown?
That's my understanding, yes.
So is it another old rail trail?
Yes. Yeah, the one that is right at just north of 36 on 300.
And we did talk about that a little bit last week on the show with Butch Baker, because it would kind of cross right there next to the Doughboy. And
Well, that's the inner.
or is that a second trail?
That's a different trail.
Right.
That is
Oh my
the
goodness, so
old-
many trails.
I know, but that's cool,
Yeah.
right? Like these are the kinds of things that people our age are interested in. So I think part of the picture is, and the comprehensive plan I think does a good job of this. I
was going to buy a mountain bike until they said they weren't going to put bike trails in down at the Trojan Woods. Now they're going to close it and
The
we
woods
won't be able to go in there.
Oh,
The woods
gosh.
are dead, man.
I know
But-
it's too dangerous. Comprehensive plan. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I
but-
interrupted you.
no,
I'm
no,
a
you're-
terrible host.
No, you're fine. No, I mean, this is complicated. It's having things to do. It's having housing. It's having jobs, good jobs. I mean, if you look at our economic development, a lot of, so many people in our county leave for all the surrounding counties, or they go to Marion County because that's where the jobs are. It's where good jobs are. And that's the story of so many people in our generation. They don't leave because they hate Henry County. They leave because they want good jobs. How could I fault anybody for that? And I came back because I could bring my job here.
You found a way to make
I
it
have
work.
my good job. Yeah. And I know that's unusual, and I'm really happy that it's worked out. So I think a big part of this is economic development, jobs in our backyard. And I know that leads to more questions, but I think obviously that has to be an emphasis for the county. That's good for everybody. More jobs is a win for everybody, contributes to the tax base. We can repair the roads, et cetera, et cetera.
How do you decide what the right jobs are, though?
Oh man,
Place Solomon, because
Right.
the other big story that we had 2 weeks ago is there's the commissioners at their next meeting are going to have to decide on rezoning some ground from rural residential to light industrial.
yeah.
we're desperate for these jobs. They're going to keep people like you and I here. And as I have kids that come along, to have them stay in Henry County,
Right.
we need to have that base so that we have options.
Absolutely.
What's the role of government in that, in your view? And I know you're running for county council, so
Right.
it's not entirely in your wheelhouse, but you're going to be a thought leader if you're on the council.
Well, I think a lot of it is community buy-in. I think it's communicating to our citizens and our local leaders that, hey, we need to have destinations for business to come in. We need to have these sites already. It's not enough to just have a field. You have to have it developed to a certain point so that when our economic development officers are showing off these locations, these large parcels, it's ready to roll. And people are much more they don't want to develop a field. They want it ready to roll where they can come in. And at least this is my understanding of economic development. So I think part of this is identifying those good locations. And we look at our interchanges. One of Henry County's great assets is that we have those interchanges on I-70. Something I daydream about is, being up from Middletown, I look at 69. And now 69 doesn't run through Henry County, but it just
barely misses it.
That's exactly right. It just barely misses Middletown on 236. It's about 1.5 miles, 2 miles west of the county. So my sort of position is there any way at all we can work with Madison County to develop an interchange there? And maybe it's impossible. I don't know. I've heard different things about it as I've talked about it privately to people, but I think that could be huge for the northwest sector of the county. Now, this is something years in the making, but
well, and you've heard, Henry County, the city's master plan is potentially to try to get an interchange added at State Road 103.
I think that's great.
On the south side of Newcastle as well.
And this is going to be a bigger issue. You guys have grown up in the area. You've seen how Indianapolis grows our way. When we were kids, it was like Castleton was the far edge of Indianapolis.
Yep.
Now it's basically Anderson.
Yeah. You take
69.
234 out to the east, and, all of a sudden Hancock County is suburban Indy.
And 70, on 70. And so Indy metropolitan area continues to grow. We have to recognize our place in that future. And what can we do to position ourselves well for that? And that's sort of what I'm thinking. That's long-term thinking, but I think
we don't do that here.
Well,
we are crisis to crisis in this county. Don't you ruin this.
Wind farm to doughboy to the next thing. No, but seriously, and I think the comprehensive plan, I'm really glad that that's been developed. And I think I've read it. I think it's pretty logical. And they're saying a lot of those same things too that I've been, thinking privately.
So something I've been thinking about a lot is that when you start to say those sorts of things, you start to sound like you're in the good old boy network. And you get lumped in with the establishment, and that's this tricky line of, well, I'm an outsider, but I agree with some of the things the county's doing, so you're just in favor of all of the stuff that is as it is. What do you say is the good old boy network? Because I know you've talked about that in your social media a little bit, and as a what does that mean? Does it mean that somebody's social media, you see somebody say, well, they're on the take, they're taking the money, or this is what's going on. Navigate that for me.
I don't know that I've ever used the verbiage good old boy. Okay. But I mean, obviously that perception exists. I don't think I would be identified as part of that just because I'm young and I haven't really been, active in our politics lately. I don't want to point fingers at people who've been public servants for a long time and say, oh, you're bad. Like, there are a lot of people in this county who've been around for a long time who I think are amazing leaders, and we would be in a much worse position without them. So I don't want to trash anybody, but I do think it's important that we have diversity of thought, and we are looking at different age groups, and we're looking at different backgrounds as we and different assets in the community as we start to make these decisions as a community. So I don't mean to dodge the question, but I just want to represent my views. That's a good question. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I'm young, but I think I have a background that really speaks to this, and I have a skill set that I think I could be useful to council.
Okay. I'm very excited that you're in the conversation for sure. I asked you before we started on the air, I said, did you know what you're getting into? Because I'm terrified that somebody like Betsy is going to get involved in politics in Henry County and get chewed up by the machine of the angry mobs that come by and pick up pitchforks. And then she's, after the election, if it doesn't work out, or even if it does work out, you're like, oh my God, these people are nuts, and I don't want to be involved in this mess.
That's a fair question, and I know people can get scared easy. Regardless of what happens on May 8th, I'm going to be in the conversation.
Good.
So I'm not going anywhere. I'm very interested in Henry County. I look at this, I want to win. I'm very competitive. I'm going to do my best. I have this is my entire focus, this and my job and my obligations at Ball State with alumni activities. But we'll see how it goes. I'm putting in maximum effort. I'm proud of the campaign we're running. I think we've been very positive. I think we've been good with everybody. Still trying to get the word out. I still hear like, oh, you're ready for county council? I had no idea. And it's like, oh my gosh, what do I have to do to break through? But,
that's, as a guy that was on the park board, and a guy that was on the planning commission's appointed board for the comprehensive plan that spent ridiculous amount of time and effort trying to say, hey, this is going on. Yeah, there will always be somebody that's going to be
Absolutely.
like, why didn't you tell me?
I know, and I think that might be happening now with Doughboy, where these plans have been in place. Now people are upset, and I mean, I have feelings on that, but that's always a tough position when you're in governance, and you're like, I have done everything to get this message out to you. I literally don't know what else I can do. That's tough. It's a constant battle.
Hopefully, with the new Nexel system, though, it'll be a little bit better.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Okay, so you mentioned the Doughboy, and we talked about earlier going from crisis to crisis to crisis. Part of your platform, and I was really happy to see this because we haven't seen it in any of our local primary races, was the opioid crisis.
Yeah,
Henry County and Newcastle definitely has a big issue. That it's not just Henry County; it's everywhere. And I'm afraid every time that we bring this up, it's going to go back to talking about hospitals and what doctors do. But I brought this up before on the show. I think it was whenever we had State Senator Mike Kreider on talking about the opioid crisis, and it was a Reason magazine article that stated that a 2018 study found that just 1% of people who took prescription pain medication following surgery, which is always the big thing that we hear about, just 1% show signs of opioid misuse. So I would like to hear a little bit about what you have to say about that, because I think it's a big issue, and I was really happy to see that on your website.
Absolutely, and let me first say that there are many Americans, millions of Americans, who take opioids for legitimate health concerns. And I think that is really important. And I think the fact that people are turning to heroin because they can't get the prescriptions they rely on to live productive lives, I think that's absolutely tragic. So my first thought is, don't mess with people who are obeying the law, who are, listening to their doctors and taking medicine that they need. At the same time, we don't need anybody abusing drugs. Heroin is horrible, and meth too. I mean, those are the two drugs in this community that I think have really done great damage. Very hard drugs. I mean, there have been people our age who've died in this county from overdoses. These drugs kill. Heroin is terrible. Fentanyl is terrible. So, my thought is, and I've also known addicts who've recovered, and I'm so proud of them for taking those steps. So I just think we have to look at it big picture. What do we do to make this better? We listen to our law enforcement. We listen to medical professionals. Don't mess with people who are law-abiding, who need certain medications to get by day to day. But really, what do we have to do? It's a comprehensive effort.
So do we, whenever we see people that are abusing opioids, or maybe they've turned to heroin or methamphetamine, things like that, is it a cause or a call for more jail time, prison time? Do we send them to rehab facilities? Try to provide incentives for local churches to create groups, things like that. Those things have actually succeeded in other counties. But I'm interested to hear your view on that because of your history with the emergency service community.
Sure, yeah, and it's been such a burden on emergency services. All the runs that increase incredibly because they're dealing with overdoses, and they're having to administer Narcan, and they're running Signal 10 around the county, which puts them at risk.
Signal 10 being they're running hot.
Yeah, lights and sirens. Sorry, that's 10 codes.
Oh, you insider.
Sorry, going back to my past there. I would defer to experts on this. I don't know that just throwing an addict in jail is the best way to go. Not that I don't believe in holding people accountable, but I don't know. That's tough. I definitely think we need to make more of an effort on rehabilitation. I'm really excited to see Governor Holcomb is providing leadership in this area and saying, hey, we really need to address this because we're losing a generation to these crises. And these are people we can save, and these are people we can return to society, have jobs, contributing to our tax base, contributing to society. So I think just taking a hard line on it is maybe not the most effective.
Pain is real. Like,
Absolutely.
you can understand how it happens. this is a silly little thing, but I had like a neck problem this last weekend. Easter Sunday was terrible. Monday morning I woke up, I was desperate for anything. It was terrible. Could not function. I picked up the phone. I was like, I need a chiropractor. I need somebody. And I went through 2 or 3. Dr. Young answered the phone. I'd never been to a chiropractor before in my life. Got in and he fixed me up, and I was good after that. But, for that moment or two, you would, I can see why you go to the doctor and you end up on pain meds, and then when he takes them away and you're in that pain.
Yeah.
The desperation is very understandable.
Yeah, I've had herniated discs in my back. It can be excruciating. So, it's a balance, I think. We used to joke at Ball State that when you went to the student health center, you sprain your ankle and they throw a bottle of Vicodin at you. Like, not necessary. It definitely used to be overprescribed, but now I think we've gone so far in the other direction that if you have a legitimate health issue that really could use, a limited amount of pain medicine, you're almost never going to get that now. And that's...
Yep, it definitely. My mom had a knee replacement about a year and a half ago, and then it became they watch them so tightly that the people that truly need them, they can't.
Right?
They run out of medicine on the weekend, and then you're like, well, now what the hell am I going to do?
Right, you're so restricted that you're driving law-abiding citizens following doctors' orders into decisions they should not be having to make.
You start to feel criminal.
Right.
Do you ever try to buy Sudafed? The state government's turned that one into a mess too.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that. Like once or twice a year when I need it. Like, I don't know.
You should start buying it in advance and keeping it, because now you're restricted.
Stuck up
you can
on
only have so much.
And Sudafed.
Yeah, that's the cycle. Dakota's running a speed test on the internet.
We just accidentally lost our internet stream.
Oh, no.
Really quick. It's back now.
All right.
We're back online now.
We've had all kinds of things go terribly wrong because the card filled up too. So you and I are going to have the most ridiculous time of stitching this show back together
all
to
right.
get on the air.
Let's do it again.
We're going to start from the beginning. No. We'll be fine. I think we've got all the audio. We'll be fine. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we got to start over from the beginning, Betsy.
All
Sorry.
right. Hey, that's all right.
Oh, it's all right. So what would we need to do from the county side to make ourselves more competent? The county spent a ton of money on an UMBA, what they call the UMBA report. It's UMBA and Associates is a consultant that came in, and they painted a picture that's not very rosy for the future of the county because of property taxes and the lack of job growth. And we've seen the health departments and the county park, which we've talked to plenty about the park in the last few months over this show. What do you see as being the right path forward financially? Because that's your job as the county council person, is you're setting that tone. You're one of 7 voices. Yeah.
With the property tax issue, and that would be state level, right? I respect the attitude that was brought forth, the spirit that was passed in, but I think that's really going to do long-term damage. And I hate it because the
tax caps.
Right, the tax caps. I don't want to see more taxes, but I wonder if we're so constrained at this point that it's not a good thing. And we're asking our local governments and our local entities to do more with less and less and less. I see this my mom's a librarian at the Middletown Library, and they do amazing work on a shoestring budget. Every year they get less and less and less, and the state expects more and more and more from them. So you don't raise taxes. I mean, again, going back to economic development, growing your tax base, I don't know where this goes.
Volunteerism is a big part of it too, and finding ways to make up the gap. There was a publication by the Henry County Historical Society celebrating Memorial Park that came out in 1992. I was reading that this week, doing some research. We had the 4-H junior leaders. I'm one of their leaders, and we were doing some a photo scavenger hunt. You can check my Facebook page and find pictures of that. But I was looking for a map of the park, and when my Google result, this popped up, and you just go down the list and reading about the park and the history, and it was a great collection of stories. Moral of the story: 1992, the park's budget was very close, within $20,000 or $30,000 what the park's budget is now.
Wow!
In 1992,
yeah.
So that goes. It's because we've been stagnant.
Right.
In so many ways in the county but the buying power of those dollars doesn't go as far anymore.
Right.
And they were talking about the park needing hundreds of thousands of dollars of upgrades at that time. That never happened. Same thing happens with your libraries. Happens, you've unfortunately your population doesn't change. The buying value doesn't go as far. Housing values don't increase. Incomes don't increase. And you end up being in a county where you've got to figure out what the future is or what the path forward is.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why these economic development opportunities like wind farms are so attractive to the incumbent commissioners.
Right.
Because they're saying, hey, I can get a couple hundred miles of county road paved and I can get tax base going. I don't know. I'm not in favor of abatements myself. I've made that pretty clear. I was the only person at the county council when I ran 4 years ago at the table that said no abatements, and hey, everybody's on board with it, which is cool. Thank you for coming around, Henry County. But it's very understandable to me because you've got issues that have been in place for 25 or 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I realize one viewpoint is these wind farms could bring in a financial windfall for the county that is nothing else will provide. I understand that. I don't think that people that think that way are evil or wrong, but I look at it from the other direction. Is it going to impact our quality of life? And I think it would, especially people living directly around them. And maybe that's not fair. I also look at, are we sacrificing our place in the future? If Indianapolis is growing in our direction, if we become a county where people want to live, are people going to want to move here if we have turbines 1,000 feet from your back door? It's questions like that really concern me. And I worry if we say yes now, we throw away our spot in the future. So I know it's from some angles, it's if you can put them on your land and you don't have to live near them, yeah, I'm sure you would want to say yes. But for the rest of us who have to live near them and have to deal with them and have our lives impacted, is that really fair? And is that money grab worth the sacrifice? And I personally would say no. And not without really significant setbacks. And really, the WEX agreement would have to be really, really structured well to even begin considering that.
So last week we asked Butch Baker, who's the county commissioner, what his setback plan was, or what his, there were 3 different areas that they were arguing or, negotiating amongst themselves over in their committee.
Right.
Do you have a personal view on that, or is it, is it just I don't support abatements and that'll kill it right there? So that's as far as I'm going, because that's kind of where I'm at. I'm at without abatements, I don't think the projects are coming. So that's where I've settled.
Right.
What's your do you have the specifics, or are you just
with regards to council? The number one question is abatements, yes or no. I would say no to that. And the other aspect is just generally, how do I feel? I think industrial wind can be a really good thing if it's kept local and if the turbines are where people aren't. And we have 50,000 people in this county, and about half of them live in cities or incorporated areas. The other half, 25,000 live out in the rural areas. That's way too much population density for wind. And I'm not looking at this emotionally. Honestly, the first time I heard about it, my mom said, hey, they're considering this. And my thought was, that sounds cool. And then she said, no, you need to learn more. This is bigger than you think. And I really dug into the issues. I don't think of it emotionally. I don't think, I don't think they cause cancer. I don't know about the health effects. I'm not willing to commit to any of those angles. And I look at research. I come from an academic perspective, but I do know that a lot of the people signed up for wind aren't living anywhere near their turbines. A lot of the farmers. And I don't fault them for wanting to create more income on their land. I understand the logic of that, but I think for the rest of us, it's not great. Long term, I really worry about the impact, and I really worry if the WEX agreement is not tight enough. These companies can sell off to a new company. Where does that leave us? Where are their obligations? So it's complicated. And I would say, with regards to setbacks, if you're wanting to know, hey, where do I stand? I would say mile. Because the literature, again, if I'm looking at like the Berkeley Lab studies, and I've really tried to educate myself, I'm not just going off of so-and-so told me this. Like, I want to know. I don't want anyone else's opinions. I want to go to the research. They don't, within a mile, they either won't study it or they don't study it clearly enough, and it really can impact property values. 3 to 5 miles, they're very willing to say, oh, it doesn't impact property value. Sure, yeah, 5 miles away, I can understand it wouldn't impact your property value. Sure. Right. But within a mile, it's really gonna impact your neighborhood. And what does that do for all of our citizens who've been here for decades, in their rural, homesteads, that all of a sudden lose 20, 30, 40, 50% of their property value because their neighbors signed up for this? That doesn't seem fair to me.
I don't know the answer to this. This is not a loaded question. they have a turbine at Shenandoah. Have the values of the properties around Shenandoah gone down because of theirs being installed?
That's a good question. I do not know. And it's like a 300-foot turbine, so it's about half size.
It's about half the size, and it's one at a high school.
Yeah,
it's not going to have the same effect that an entire farm would have, I would think.
Yeah, and I've heard
when it comes to the wind farms and all the concerns about it, I have some concerns because of my career is in the electrical industry, so that definitely concerns me. And then the property value I definitely see is a big thing. Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as you. I try to look at everything go into everything with a very unbiased level position, and then come out with a really well developed opinion on things. And your answer was perfect on that for me.
Thanks. I try to be sincere. I try to listen to all sides. I try to weigh the factors and just look at it logically and look at it long term, not short term, long term. And again, I'm not mad at people who think it's a good thing. I understand their logic. I just, without bias, without having a lease, without having anything, without having one exactly in my backyard, I just think it's the wrong call. I think wind energy is good where people aren't. We have too much population density. It is what it is.
So, are there specifics for Henry County budgetarily that you want to make adjustments to at this point?
I definitely don't want to come in and say, I'm going to change this and that and make all these changes. That is something I would want to come in slowly and really evaluate budgets and really get a lay of the land before I would commit to any big changes. It's not like I look at council now and say, oh, you guys are screwing everything up. No, I think I can add to the council. I think I have attributes that would make me a good member of the council, but I wouldn't want to commit to say, oh, you guys do things wrong. I think generally they are very sincere and they try to be responsible with the taxpayers' money, and I respect that.
So day one, you're not going to commit to buying a new Doughboy statue, so you can have two and everybody can be happy. No, not with our taxpayer money. I think if somebody, if we're transitioning into the Doughboy conversation.
That was kind of our segue.
Sure.
We've lost the video feed once. We've lost the side recorder once. I have literally no idea how long we've been in the air at this point.
It's
no clue.
It's almost 8:30. Doughboy is something I've learned a lot about, and I am embarrassed to say I didn't know a lot about Doughboy before. I don't know how I missed that part of our county's history, but I didn't really know. I remember as a kid seeing it, but I just didn't really understand the significance.
Pokemon Go put it on the community for people under 30.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's a Pokemon gym.
I had no idea where it was. I didn't know what it was until we started doing the show. So I'm right there with you.
Sure. So with Doughboy, first and foremost, I think the park board has worked really hard to try to design a place for him to be relocated that is appropriate and is the intentions there are really good. I feel really bad for them that they're getting a lot of animosity directed there at them, and because I think the intentions were really good, but I do think, and I wrote about this in the paper and a couple of different editorials.
You had a great letter in the paper.
Yeah,
it was really good.
Thank you. I try to look at this again from all perspectives, and my thought is, okay, the American war mothers and local veterans think that this is hallowed ground, and you do not move things from hallowed ground unless you're repairing. And that argument to me is really compelling, and that sort of stands out from everything else. And I've learned a lot from, I know you guys mentioned Mark Sean Orr, who's really active on social media. He's like local historian. I know he's a jack of all trades, amazing photographer. Yeah, really interesting. I've learned a lot from his posts, and so I've just tried to weigh the factors. And to me, it makes sense. Can we not bring him back to where he was? And then the park board, the plaza you guys have designed, which I think sounds fabulous. Can we not put something else there? So you guys keep your plan, the fundraising you've done, everything stays the same. We just put in a different statue. And what could that be? Doughboy goes back. Maybe we make him ADA accessible.
There's a missing statue that was at the end of Trojan Lane that nobody's ever explained. Maybe that could go there.
That one also had a broom on its head.
And my thought was Patrick Henry. And I love the history of the founding of our country. And Patrick Henry is who Henry County is named after. Yep. Has this an amazing line, "Give me liberty or give me death." It's a great quote. And I almost wonder if we couldn't get a statue of Patrick Henry.
See, I've thought that same thought, except maybe not Patrick Henry, but somebody from the Vietnam Wars or the the multiple, the current wars that we're still in the Middle East.
Absolutely, yeah.
Something that we can leave our own mark in Memorial Park because Mark or is constantly bringing up the fact that, it's supposed to be a living memorial. And I really like that idea, but I also understand that whenever you have, private donations going into the government, that can kind of make the waters really muddy whenever you start to say, well, we're not going to go with that plan that you donated to us for.
Right.
That makes it really difficult. There's a lot of different people that have to be talked to about that. And I think it could happen. And I think that it would be responsible for the park board to kind of put a hold on this right now, because it has become such a big deal. And I don't think they should just ignore it.
Yeah, who would have known that this was going to be the issue of the year?
Jeremiah, did you know whenever you voted on it?
There was a group of volunteers that came together with a plan led by veterans organization, and they've had donations from veterans groups, fraternal halls, the individual veterans all over the county that have been supportive. To say any one group of veterans is on either side of it, I think is probably short-sighted, because there's Steve Peckinpah, who's leading the thing, is a Vietnam War vet himself.
Right.
And
you're right.
If it wasn't for the efforts they had, he would be decaying in the same spot.
Right.
But then vandalized twice. The copper that it's made out of was worn through completely in some areas. There wouldn't be a future for it at all. So
right.
I personally,
and they deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah.
And for people to get furious at them, let's not beat up on people who are volunteering and doing their very best.
Yeah.
But maybe there needs to be a tweak here, and that's sort of my angle.
Yeah. My problem is if you pull the rug out from under another group of volunteers out there, I don't know if you'll ever get any more.
Right.
Because
of course.
it's a brutal thing to do that to a volunteer group. The park board is not paid. It's a volunteer group, and then all these different subcommittees, the monument committee, and the people who've done this work and done the fundraising, they're volunteers as well. So it's tough for me to try to change that at this point, because this was voted on in August. It went through a 14-month process, and they got to this point. At some point, you're like, man, it's done.
Well, you definitely wouldn't want to change it, because it's all your idea.
Yeah, it's all my idea.
This is your brainchild.
No, it wasn't my idea, but I did vote for it. I was on the board at the time and supported it, because it was the decision was, do you have somebody? You have a volunteer group that wants to make an improvement and save a monument. If their refurbishment plan says, hey, we're going to relocate it to the busiest part of the park so that it's going to be visible to people again, because it's in a completely inaccessible area next to a maintenance area, I'm in favor. But I understand that there's people that are very passionate on other sides of it as well. But,
right, and the way the artist designed it was in that location on
coming
the
out of the woods.
Right,
yeah.
I get that. Like, I get all the it's tough. Like, I don't want to beat up on the board and say you guys are jerks. No, you did really good work. It's just this one little piece of it, and so I hope that those conversations can continue, and there can be everybody buys in, whatever the end result is. So.
No matter what, it's always really good whenever citizens get involved and start paying attention to political processes. I mean, even if you don't agree with it, it should always be a good thing whenever you see that type of stuff happen. So we asked this question to Susan Hoon.
Mm-hmm.
It takes about $30,000 to have a new statue built. The county council could allocate those funds to make that happen. Would you be in support of that?
No, I think it should be private or grants or whatever. I don't think it
should
be.
Yeah, and in your article that you wrote, I guess
opinion
letter
to the editor.
Your letter to the editor. You said that one good idea to raise money, which I really like this, by the way. It was making miniature versions of the Doughboy and then selling them to try to raise funds. I think that's awesome. I think that pretty big market for that here in Henry County.
If the people who are screaming loudest are willing to put their money there, and I would buy one too. I think they would be really cool. I was looking on eBay at, I think they made 25,000 smaller versions of Doughboy.
No, they're already there.
They are, but they're very expensive. They're hundreds of dollars. Okay. And a lot of them are really beat up from what I could tell. I thought about bidding on one, but I was like, I thought maybe I could donate it to the county or to the memorial that'll be on the.
That's the one they can put in front of the Smith Building.
Yeah,
the desktop version.
Yeah, they're like the size of the mic. So I honestly was looking last week and thought, oh no, I need money for my campaign. I'm going to hold off, but I was tempted. I mean, I'm all about creative solutions, and I think it should be private. Maybe it's businesses, maybe it's grants, maybe it's all of the believers pulling their money. I don't think it should be a public expense at this point.
I agree with
But
that.
maybe the public angle is that we, as a council, would allocate money to make it AD accessible. That makes sense to me, but not to actually fund the new statue.
Have you been to the site of the original statue? Have you been out there?
Not in years.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of trees. I know
Yeah.
sap's an issue. I've not been there in a while.
Yeah. As of right now, it's you basically park in the superintendent's driveway to get there. That's the most easily accessible spot. Is you park at her home, walk past the oil tanks in the maintenance yard where they chop wood,
It's going to need a lot of work.
and then you're there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you park at the public parking, you're either walking through the woods or you're walking across a muddy mess, across a couple of creeks, and then back up the hill. It's really not well accessible at this point.
Sure.
But we'll see where it goes. Whether that it's there or there's another monument there or something happens to that site. The story is not done yet. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch. It's been interesting to observe.
So I have a couple questions before we move to final thoughts.
Yes, sir. Chase.
All right.
Co-host
Actually,
Chase.
I want to touch on some things because I think we missed some things. But if we didn't, and I just didn't hear you, I'm sorry. We'll edit that part out. But just so people get to know you better, since you're running for office, you played the drums in high school?
I did, yeah. I played literally just about everything. I played cymbals in band. I played the quintoms, which I loved. Loved to play Wipeout on snare. I played just about all the instruments in concert band. Yeah, I played jazz band. I played drum set. I played timpanis. I did it all. I loved it.
That's pretty awesome. I'm not trying to brag, but I can play drums on Rock Band on a hard mode, and I can play almost any song and get through it all.
That's awesome.
So
There you
I'm
go.
pretty
Yeah,
good. I'm
pretty
just saying we might jam out together.
Hey,
sometime.
I haven't played Rock Band in a long time, but I'm in.
All right. I've seen Dakota play the real drums one time, and I was blown away because I didn't expect anything. I thought he was just going to start banging on stuff. He was actually pretty
Yeah,
good.
Chase didn't know that I could play the drums, and then I sat down behind a drum set, and he was like,
Well, I made the mistake.
Blown away.
And I got on there before him, and I was just, I was like, yeah, I can play, and it sounded awful. And then he got on, and I was like, oh, well, I should have waited a couple more minutes.
I think I'm pretty rusty. I really have not played much since high school, and that was 2004. But
playing the drums is like riding a bike, though. It's always in your head.
it kind of is.
It's so much. There's so much muscle memory behind playing the drums. Like I tried to play the saxophone, which is what I also played in high school, and I just tried to play that a couple months ago, and it was like it sounded horrible. But I can still get behind a drum set and be pretty good.
How's the banjo coming along, Dakota?
It's going on all right. It's going pretty good. It's definitely the most difficult, but also at the same time the most fun instrument I've ever learned how to play.
Banjo is awesome. I love that there's like a growing movement for banjo, like that.
Yeah.
And ukulele too. I think that's really cool.
I also play the ukulele.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think you need to lose a couple more of your teeth to be a banjo player.
Or move a couple
Wow.
states south.
My goodness.
And I was really proud.
There went all of our Tennessee listeners.
Sorry, Tennessee.
Bye, Jacob Mills.
Sorry. No, a couple. Oh gosh, this was probably 6 or 8 months ago. But I was at a coworker's house back at Penn State, and he like collects musical instruments, and he has like a couple different drum sets. He has this amazing setup in his basement, and they like to jam, and they were like, jump on drums, you play drums. And I was like, I can't, I'm rusty. And then I jumped in and I started playing, and they were like, you can play. And I was like, yeah, I still have it. So that was really fun. I was excited
And
about that.
another thing I think we missed. I'm sorry, I was off the mic. I think we missed is you won a couple of awards while you were at Ball State, right?
Yes. Yeah. I won a few awards, and actually
cool.
kind of recently. So
We need you to brag on yourself for a minute. Tell
Yeah,
us what the
I'm trying
awards
to
were.
boost you up.
which ones do you want me to talk about? The one on the paper?
All of them.
All of them, yeah.
Actually, don't do all of them because it's going to take us like an hour to get through all of them.
The one that I think you're referring to, as a senior, I won the Indiana Women of Achievement Student Award, and that was really cool. I was nominated by one of my faculty members in women's studies, and who they were always just unbelievably supportive of me. And that was really cool to win that award. It was really a swanky ceremony in the Alumni Center, and my family was there. And one of the best things about being at Ball State was that my parents and my sisters could come to events. And even my sisters followed me 2 years later. They went to Ball State too. They're twins. And it was really fun for all of us to be on campus together. More recently, this
Very expensive for your parents, though.
well, I got a scholarship, so
All right.
I did pretty well. And they won some scholarships too. It was expensive. And we also lived there, even though we live 15 minutes from campus, being, on the northernmost road of the county. My parents were insistent that and not that we had to fight, we wanted to live on campus, but, we were really lucky that they were very supportive of us being involved on campus. More recently, to answer your question, this past fall I won a Graduate of the Last Decade award from the Alumni Association, and
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just unbelievably honored by that. It's just really meant a lot to me, and I think they look at you based on your contributions to education, to your community.
Look at her bragging about how she graduated college.
I didn't even go to college.
I went for a few years.
Yeah.
I think graduating is cool. I also, my dad was in the skilled trades. He was a tool maker. I believe very strongly in people. I don't think education is only college. I think
He was a tool maker?
He was.
And he worked in a machine shop, or did
he worked in Delphi and Anderson for a long time. And so, I think sometimes the perception is if you're associated with a college, like you think that's the only way to go. I definitely don't think that. I think you have to have a trade or some sort of skill set. Whatever that is, I encourage it. So I don't think everybody needs to go to college, but I very much respect the people who do things with their hands or whatever else. It may not be the college path, because that's absolutely valid. Often they make a lot more money than the rest of us who did go to college. So I think it really just depends on one's skill sets and desires for their life.
Trade schools are great, man.
Yeah.
I will preach on that all day. I mean, that's the path that I went, and it was perfect for me, because I had no idea what I wanted to do in college. Or I wanted to be a chiropractor at one point in my high school career.
Could have used you Monday.
And there are so
you imagine this finger doing chiropractor work right now? No.
There are so many people who go to college and just it's not the right path for them, and they spend a fortune. I've
right here.
Yeah, spend a fortune, and they get nothing out of it. And I think that's not great. So everybody has a different path.
We're going to
All right.
roll you into Penn State online, Chase.
You're telling me. I'll probably end up going to a trade school eventually, but we'll see.
I got connections in Muncie.
So
Thank you.
we're getting to that point in the show for final thoughts, Betsy.
Sure.
You've got yard signs coming in tomorrow.
Literally tomorrow.
So if people want yard signs, they want to support you, they want to send you money, how do they get in touch with you? What's the hookup?
Two ways. There's my website, betsyforhenrycounty.com. Really slick website. There's a form on there where you can enter in information. And I've loved getting those emails. I also have an email address, Betsy at betsyforhenrycounty.com. Also, I'm very active on Facebook, Betsy Mills, or my page, Betsy Mills for Henry County Council District 3. So any of those methods, I like to be accessible. And if people are interested in what my vision is for the county and the things I'm interested in my platform, I would love to hear from you. Even if you don't live in my district, I just like to talk to people, and I like to hear about what their thoughts are. It's been really exciting.
You guys doing some walking, some door-to-door stuff as you get into the next couple weeks? Need volunteers for that and some
absolutely.
Saturdays?
I could use manpower. I could use all sorts of things. I could use people to distribute signs. Got 250 of them coming tomorrow. So
man, there'll be red and white signs all over Western Henry County.
Yeah, and it's funny because one of my competitors also has red and white signs. I ordered them before.
Well, crap.
I think my signs look pretty good, but it is what it is. I'm having fun with it. I really believe in my campaign and my platform, and I think the council could use somebody who's a little bit younger, and not to speak ill of my elders or anything like that, but I think I'd be the youngest by at least a decade. So
what time do you think council should have their meetings?
You're going to be on the Clay Morgan bus?
I definitely am okay with it being in the evenings. I think that's optimal for citizens and probably also for most of the counselors, or council members. So I think evenings is fine. And especially for Clay, I can understand why he'd be a little bit frustrated that they start at 3:30. So
yeah, I'm also frustrated.
Yeah, it's hard to go.
Yeah, that's tough. So
as a piece of media in Henry County, it makes it difficult to get there.
Right. And so, we want it to be accessible. And I also would support, I know you guys have talked a lot about, can we record meetings? Can we increase the technology in that room? And it's a really cool room. But yeah, we need to do that. We need to I think sometimes we have this perception of government as not being transparent because we don't have information, when really that may not be what's happening, but we can't get at the information we need. So,
for $90,000 a year, I'll go there and film all the meetings. And
that's
I
1
need
mile of road we're not going to be able to repair.
I need to have I also need to have a 401k, maybe a pension, some health insurance, all the benefits. But I'll do a great job.
I really like you, but as a fiscal conservative, I'm not sure I can support that plan.
I'll do it for 60.
But just,
Really, you're going to undercut me like that?
man,
Well, free market
it's
capitalism.
a
I
race
mean,
to the
80,
bottom around
80.
here, huh?
$59.99.
Well, thank you, Betsy, for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate you being here and doing the old podcast. Hopefully, you can tell the rest of the candidates we didn't scare you too bad.
No, you guys have been fantastic. I've been excited to do this, and it's been a lot of fun.
Very good.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I mean, you heard how many awards she's been winning? I wouldn't want to be running against her. She wins everything. And, I mean, who wants to vote for a loser? So I would vote for her.
Oh my God, Chase!
Chase is supporting her.
I appreciate your support.
There we go.
You're gonna have to move to Middletown in a hurry.
Hey,
If you're gonna vote in the primary and you're not registered yet, you've got like 3 days.
Yeah,
to
it's
register, right?
April
9th.
8th.
I'm going to say the same thing when her competitor comes on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
I'm just
That would
kidding.
be
I look
Jesse
forward
Riddle,
to that
probably.
interview. I look forward to that conversation.
Yeah, well, we have I've extended an invite to Steve Duggar, who's in the race, and he's the incumbent.
Right.
Still waiting on Steve to check his email. So, Steve, if you're watching, check your email. Get back to me. And then Dakota and I have added another special date. We're going to try to invite Peggy on the show as well.
Great.
So hopefully that date works out for her. So trying to get all these guys that are in contested races on between now and the election. But, man, Dakota and I are going to be living in the studio to try to get it all done.
I think it's great you guys are doing this and providing a platform for candidates to talk about their vision for the county. You guys do a great job. You should be really proud.
Thank you. That's a really good time for us to plug our Patreon in a minute to help help keep inspiring this thing to exist. Chase, you got final thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I have two. I'm going to try to get through them pretty quickly. All right. This is usually when I look at the camera and I do my spiel about how I want a free T-shirt. You know, I'll go.
We got offered bracelets for you.
Okay. All right. Well, that's about to go out the window because I'm done doing that. All right. When I become park president / dictator, this is what's going to happen. I've decided. I'm sick of people fighting about whether it should be moved, whether it should stay. I've decided when I become park president
Hey, wait a
/
minute.
dictator.
You know the current park board president has arrest powers now, right? He's the sheriff's deputy, so Landon can come after you.
Listen, I'm untouchable. So when I become park president, we're going to sell it. We're going to sell the Doughboy to the highest bidder, and we're going to put a new statue in. And we're going to list a couple options on our Twitter page, and whatever one gets the highest vote, that's what the statue is going to be.
I do not endorse this.
And here are your 5 options. All right. Number 1, Steve Alford. All right. Hometown hero. My dad loved him. I never got to see him play.
A memorial to Steve Alford.
Yes. Second, Rudy Rudiker from the movie Rudy.
Because he has strong Henry County ties.
Yes, well, Indiana, Notre Dame, everyone loves him. But I don't want it to be the actual Rudy. I want it to be Sean Astin from the movie. Okay.
John Astin was just
Yes,
in Indianapolis
I love
last
that.
weekend.
Yes.
I met him once. He's really nice. He came to
He
Ball State a
seems
few years
really
ago.
cool. I loved him in The Lord of the Rings.
Would it be like a 4'3" statue?
Yes,
Is he
it'd be
short
very
guy?
short. The Hobbit version.
Small enough for somebody to pick up and steal.
What if you relocate the shoe at the Steve Alford Inn and put it in the park?
That would be a lot cheaper. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that too. Or we can get an actual statue of him, and then the Steve Alford one, we can put it in the Doughboy spot, and it'll just be the shoe. That way we have 2 statues, pleases everybody. Both spots get filled.
We've got
Steve
2
Alford
shoes.
coming out of the shoe.
We've got
Well,
the shoe at the museum.
Listen,
we've got
I'll
the shoe
try
out at the
to
end.
allot the funds to get him down here to do that. My third option is Peyton Manning. I don't like Peyton Manning, but Colts fans, whatever, blah blah blah. I'm sure they go for that one. My fourth option is Larry Bird, another Indiana guy.
No ties to Henry County of any sort.
Big fan, still Indiana. And my last and final option is Axl Rose. He was born in Lafayette, Indiana. Pretty good band. Just saying it could work.
I
His
would
statue
support
would
that.
be pretty cool.
I think an Axl Rose statue. I think the Axl Rose should probably be added to the cannon, though. Like he's riding the cannon,
I
sticking
like
his
it.
tongue out, giving like a rock and roll symbol.
I like it.
That'd be pretty cool.
Or we could do the Boss Hog of Liberty statue. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think I'd rather have the Patrick Henry ahead of any of those.
Can I retract my earlier statement? I want to add a couple of options,
Okay.
possibilities. Tamika Catchings of the Indiana Fever. Let's at least get one woman
yeah,
in
Tamika
sports.
Catchings, yeah.
She was amazing.
Even I know who she is.
Right. And also one of my all-time favorite athletes, Reggie Miller.
I like it. I thought about Reggie Miller, and then I was like, well, they never won a championship.
8 points,
so I'm
9
not gonna
seconds.
Throw him.
Let's do it.
I mean, amazing. I loved him growing up. Watched him when I was a little kid. Really cool. I like that idea. I'll support that one. And then my second thing for my final thoughts is a shout out to Headless Chickens. Okay, I'm gonna look up in my notes because I had a whole thing down here.
So
I saw
confused.
on the news last week. Okay, that there was a headless chicken that was beheaded, and he's still alive a week after, which is just crazy. He was adopted by a group of monks in Thailand, and he's still going. He's going for the record, which was set by.
This isn't the Tuesday show. This is the Boss
Well,
Hog
I'm
of Liberty.
just
This
saying.
isn't tinfoil time with Audrey and Dakota.
I literally watched this for. I mean, I literally looked this up for a couple hours, and the record is held by a chicken that was born in the 1940s, that lasted 18 months without his head, which is just incredible. I don't know how that happens. Black magic, I don't know, but I figured I'd throw that in the podcast.
I'm officially voting that we keep the Doughboy where he originally was on the mound, and we put the statue of the headless chicken in front of the Smith building.
I do that. I mean, I'll be honest.
If you put a headless chicken out there, you're going to scare away
I saw
all
the
the ducks
videos,
that are
and
left.
it is really creepy. Really creepy. But I'm rooting for this chicken to stay alive. Hope he has a good life.
How do people follow
Wait
you,
a minute.
Chase?
The chicken from the 40s is still alive?
No, the chicken from the 40s is dead, but the new headless chicken, it's probably his son. I don't know. His
How's he
grandson.
Good genes.
I don't know,
Have a
but
feeding tube?
I don't know. I don't know how he stayed alive that long.
Is this chicken a vegetable?
A biological
No,
miracle.
if you watch the video, because the video is online, you'll see stuff moving, and it is disgusting. I'll warn you, and it's really creepy. But he still moves around. He walks around. They had him in a little cage. Like,
Gosh.
yeah, I was blown away by this little chicken, so I figured I'd throw him in
weird.
here.
Okay.
All right. Well,
So thank
Anything
you
else?
guys. That's it.
All right. Vote for Betsy, huh?
Yeah, vote for Betsy.
that's what you're
Vote for
saying.
Chase. For
These people are running for office, and you're talking about headless chickens. I want everybody to know that.
well,
This is what a public meeting will feel like.
chicken lives matter, Jeremiah.
I would agree with that.
All right, Dakota.
All right. So, for my final thoughts, it is April the 5th, 2018. That means that in 11 days, is it 11 or 11? How do you pronounce it?
11.
11.
11.
Well, I'm going to say 11 days. On April the 16th, 2018, I am going to be live streaming the Memorial Park Board meeting. I hope that everybody can tune in for that. I hope that everybody watches it, and I hope that there's a really good turnout. Because I really like paying attention to this Doughboy issue. I was kind of annoyed by it at first. I was kind of irritated by all the attention that it was getting, but my mind has changed a little bit, and I hope that there something really comes out of it. Something good comes out of all this.
Like Reggie Miller.
Yeah, I hope it's.
People know it exists now.
I hope that it's not just a whole waste of time. Really, I really do. My second part of my final thoughts is we have 11 people, 12 if you count both of your parents. My parents still haven't subscribed to the Patreon.
My
account.
parents love me.
Yep. But we're really trying to get up around that $500 mark so that we can either start building our own studio or we can rent out a studio space, because that would be fantastic.
Because this studio isn't good enough for us anymore?
Well, I mean, you just never know. I said on the Tuesday show for the Patreon subscribers that I just don't know whenever Audrey's going to start popping babies out, and I might need this for a nursery one day.
True, and we are running out of sign room.
We
We really are.
We
Yeah.
have got room for about 4 more signs, and it's going to be a problem. I'm going to win my $50 bet then, because I had 8 years.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm cheering for you to pull the goal.
I heard she was
$50.
pregnant. I'm just going to put that out there.
You heard what?
I heard she was pregnant.
I haven't heard that yet.
Oh, she told me. So.
All right. That's
Sorry you had to find out
interesting.
this way.
Yeah. But anyway, we
Congrats.
really do want to get to that $500 mark. Like I said earlier, the tinfoil time is actually turned out really well. The way that we kind of do this format is that we both do our research on the topic, and we divvy it up into the questions that we're going to ask, the things that we're researching, and we both write our little spiels, and then we don't look at each other's writings until the day of, and we're reading it. So it puts out some pretty good content. This week, it looks like we are going to cover the conspiracy theory that the Queen of England is a baby snacking cannibal.
I was named after her.
Really?
Yeah. Queen
Oh, there we
Elizabeth.
go.
Yeah, she's cool.
So that looks like that's going to be the conspiracy theory that we're going for. I was really rooting for that the Earth has 2 suns and NASA is hiding the second one from us. But We'll see where this goes. I'm really excited. So please, I don't want to have to get on my knees because you probably won't be able to see me, but I'm begging you to support us on the Patreon account. It's awesome.
I'm not begging, but I'm very thankful for all the folks that have joined in. Patreon subscribers are Brant Spicer, Christy Avery, Rebecca Baker, Paul and Joyce Morrell, Sarah Potter, the lovely Sarah Potter, Jamie Jo Owens, Craig DeCosta, Corey Murphy, Aaron Ewert, Mary Hershey, and Nancy Dietz. Your name will be right on that list if you join us next month or next week, anytime this week. Between now and then, we'll update the list. And if somebody drops off, we're going to shamelessly beat them for falling off the list.
I said on the Tuesday episode, if you have to, just forcefully dominate all your friends and family and force them to get in front of a computer and donate to the Patreon account.
Dakota learned from the way I friended him.
Yes.
Forcing friendship. He's going to force people to join the Patreon.
I will say it is the second best podcast I've ever heard.
Second best, behind Bert Kreischer.
Ours.
Oh, yeah. TinFoil time. There goes Boss Hog of Liberty, and then TinFoil time, and then We Are Libertarians.
Maybe Bert Kreischer. I don't know. I like his podcast. It's pretty good.
All right. Any more final thoughts, Dakota, or are we there?
Do you want to say that I did not expect anybody to be donating $25 to $50 a month? So I didn't actually have the posters designed that these people are getting for their rewards. I do now have a final design. It looks sweet. So as soon as Vistaprint sends them to me, I will be sending them out to you all.
They'll be in the mail.
That's correct.
The posters in the mail. Very cool. All right. Well, if people want to follow Dakota at bosshogofliberty.com.
Yep. Or at AtokadSavat on Twitter.
There we go. I've got just a minute or two. I wanted to talk about this establishment thing and the good old boy deal that I see. Not necessarily Betsy, but I've seen it a lot around Facebook the last couple of weeks in our community. And it's really not the good old boy network that I see. I think it's really the people that show up and continue to show up and get involved. I'm a fan of the West Wing, and they, one of the things they talked about there is it's the people that show up that actually get involved and stick with, and they're the ones that make the decisions. That's how you get appointed to boards. That's how you end up being an influencer. I've got friends in the Libertarian Party, obviously, but I've also got very good friends in the Democrat and the Republican Party in this community. And by the way, there are people in all of those parties that are on our Patreon support list as well, and we thank them for that. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you show up, you pay attention, and you're credible and you're reasonable, people are going to listen to you and they're going to value your opinion. And I know if the wind issue got you involved or this Doughboy thing got you involved, I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you care. Or if it's the zoning stuff with the 300 North, County Road 300 South project, stay involved, stay interested. There's opportunity still to get on the ballot. There are races where there's still nobody running. Go talk to the county chairman, talk to Dakota, talk to the Republican or the Democrat county chair. They can get you on the ballot after the primary's over. Just because the primary's done doesn't mean the fields are set. People need to interview for their jobs in this election. Right now, there's still an awful lot of races. The county council race in District 4 right now, whoever the Republican is looking at a clean slate into the fall. There's nobody else running in that race. There's no Democrat or Libertarian running in the Northern District. So whether it's Mr. Tarantino or Mr. Baker that's going to be on that ballot, there needs to be somebody in that race to hold them accountable and have them to sharpen that blade going into the fall. So all of those races need to be challenged. Last time we had this election 4 years ago, there were 3 Libertarians that challenged the incumbent Republicans, and Darren Jacobs and Nate Lamar ran in the 4th district race. They all need to be contested because the races are important. Nobody should get a fair shot, or not an unfair shot, but a clean shot into the general election. It shouldn't work that way. So run for office, and if you're not running for this one, look at the city election next year. We've got 3 years in a row of elections, and this is the time you actually get to have influence. So that's my little preachiness. It's not the good old boy network as it is the people that show up. And pay attention after your issue is done and over. Stay involved. I got involved over a park board controversy when the Saddle Club was getting a lease, and there was 3 different groups involved: 4-H, Saddle Club, and Park Board. That kind of got me involved in county government about 3-4 years ago, and I've not left. I've paid attention to the issues, and I'm weighed in. I've continued to weigh in on them. I'm excited Betsy's here, and I'm glad she's a part of the campaign and the conversation. No matter what happens, I'm glad she's here and is going to stay involved. So we'll see you guys next week. Ed Tarantino, a week from today.
Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeareLibertarians.com.